Welcome to another episode with your chapter crush sweetheart. This is Everblue Presents More Than Enough, a chapter crush sweetheart series. Nicholas, Chapter 20. September falls on a Wednesday. The usual sound of pans and pots clanging and the smell of cooked food are all absent when I step into my London penthouse. The unusual quiet that greets me sends a chill down my spine. It's been 3 weeks since we left Switzerland and came back here for post-production work. Being in a studio and doing interviews from dawn to dusk isn't the glamorous part of the job, but it is necessary. Needless to say, coming back to Bryony's waiting arms is usually the best part of my day, which is why her absence is so noticeable. "Bryony?" I call, knocking on her door as I look towards the dark kitchen. "She's gone," a voice calls from the sitting room. "Evie?" I walk towards the sitting room to find my sister on the sofa with a murderous gleam in her eye. With her arms folded and her legs crossed at the knee, I don't feel as though I'm in imminent danger of losing teeth, but I'm positive I'm in for the tongue lashing of my life. I stop short, a sense of dread rising in my chest. Wait, what do you mean she's gone? Where has she gone? Evie shakes her head as she sharply exhales. "I mean just what I said, Nicholas. Bryony is gone, no thanks to you. Back to New York." I feel the blood drain from my face as panic rises in my chest. That doesn't make any... Why would she do such a thing? We'll be back in 3 days. I break off to pull out my mobile. Forget it. I have no idea why I'm asking you when I can just call her and sort this all out. Yet, the longer the phone rings, the more a rising sense of dread gnaws at my stomach. The sound of Bryony's voicemail gives me a start. Dialing again, I am again sent to voicemail. That's never happened before until now. Since Bryony began working for me, she's always answered my calls. I slowly look up at Evie, who's sitting completely upright, tight-lipped with anger. Crossing to her, I sit on the sofa, but not close enough to be in striking range. "What happened?" I desperately croak. Evie ponders me curiously. "Shouldn't I be asking you that question?" After getting an ominous text message which said exactly what I told you, I drove over here when Bryony didn't respond to texts or phone calls. "What did you do?" Evie's question doesn't surprise me, but the accusatory tone does give me a moment of hesitation. I stare into my sister's blue eyes, pondering the same question. What did I do? "I have no idea, Evie. She seemed fine this morning after breakfast. Alfie comes through the front door and I leap up to question him. "Did you know Bryony left?" The answer is clear in Alfie's shocked brown eyes. "What do you mean she left?" I groan as I throw my head back in frustration. "Just what I said, Alf. She isn't accepting anyone's calls or texts at the moment. Evie drove over, but she evidently missed Bryony, who's heading back to New York apparently." Alfie scowls. "And why would she be doing something like that, sir?" Evie appears at my elbow, sharply poking me in the shoulder to punctuate each word. "What did you do?" I stare back at her as new horror dawns. "We had a small disagreement last night, but surely it couldn't be over that." Alfie and Evie cross their arms simultaneously. As they scowl at me, I look back and forth between them. "Spill it, Nicholas." I flinch at hearing Evie say my full name. I can count on one hand the number of times I've heard her use it, and 2 of those occasions took place today. Rubbing the back of my neck, I expel a hard breath. It's really nothing as dramatic as all of that. I don't know what's gotten into Bryony suddenly. Last night we were sitting on the balcony after dinner as usual, and the breeze had gently fluttered, blowing Bryony's curly bob around her head. From seemingly far away, the sounds of London traffic could be faintly heard drifting over the park. I unbuttoned the second button on my white knit polo and sat back in my chair. I should have told her how beautiful she looked in her white and blue striped maxi dress as she lounged on a chaise. Instead, I remarked how unseasonably warm it was in London for the time of year. Bryony smiled and said, "If London wants to give me a warm send-off, I'll take it. It's going to be non-stop work when I get back, so I'm going to enjoy these last few days." I shrugged as I savored the tart sweetness of the purple butterfly pea flower lemonade Bryony made. "Why don't you take a couple of weeks off before starting up the truck? Or better yet, why not wait to launch it when we get back from New Zealand? I'll have time to help you then too." Bryony's head slowly turned like something out of a horror movie, but still, I didn't take the hint. I laughed. "What? Don't look at me that way. I only meant that you should get rest while you can. Don't need to run yourself into the ground." Bryony blinked at me, a look of perfect befuddlement marring her face. Nick. Wow, I am made of questions. Where to start?" She put a hand to her mouth as she frowned. "You know, I've been planning to start this truck for a long time. It means a lot to me." I took in her somber expression and nodded. "Of course I know that, love. You've hardly spoken of anything else this past year." Bryony nodded as she narrowed her eyes on me. "So, what do you mean wait until after New Zealand to launch it?" I sat my cup down as I leaned over to push her curls over her shoulder. I frowned when she scooted away from me to sit up, but I responded anyway. "I just meant it's only 2 months until we leave. If the time crunch is too much, then we can always do it when we get back in February." She seemed to be angry, but that couldn't be right. I slapped my forehead. "Oh, that's right. I forgot. Evie's due date. We'll be in London for most of March and April." "Well, there's always May. I suppose we could—" I broke off as Bryony stiffly stood up, bending to retrieve her glass from the table. "Where are you going, love?" When Bryony looked at me, the mixture of hurt, anger, and confusion in her eyes stunned me. "Nick, just what makes you think I'm willing to put off my plans again?" The tone in her voice caused me to sit up in my chair, a frisson of unease shooting down my spine. I shook my head in confusion. "I don't wish for you to put it off. It just seemed like a lot to balance between all of our other obligations. I don't want you to burn out, love." Bryony's eyebrows shot up, but she tilted her head to the side as she studied me. "Getting day launched is my only obligation right now, Nick. Next year, with your investment, I'll get night launched. That's all I have going on. I know you're going to be in New Zealand, but why would I wait until you get back is beyond me. I haven't needed your help until this point. I don't know why things would suddenly be too great to deal with when you aren't around." A sharp pang shot through me at her words, and I stood to rest my hands on her shoulders as confusion swelled in my mind. "Darling, I think something has been lost in translation. I know you haven't needed my help in the past, but when I'm around, you have me at your disposal. I didn't mean to indicate you wouldn't be able to launch day in a short window of time. I just thought it might be easier to do so when we're both available. Taking 4 months off after the launch, then another 2 months after that for Evie's baby might be a bit taxing. That's all I meant." Bryony held up both hands as she stepped out of my embrace. "Wait, what do you mean taking 4 months off?" I stared at her flabbergasted. "Well, how else would you travel with me to New Zealand?" Her eyes widened to the size of saucers as she spun towards the rail, her hands on her head. When she turned to face me again, her face was a mask of disbelief. "Why would I go with you to New Zealand? I don't work for you anymore." I blinked at her as I slowly responded. "I know that, love. However, I'll be gone for months. Do you mean to say you have no intention of coming with me when I travel for work?" Bryony gritted her teeth as she shook her head. "Nick, I have my own job, my own business to run. Why would I take off for months at a time? How would I pay my bills? How would I live? I swallowed, offering a bewildered smile. Is that what's worrying you? We're together now, darling. What bills do you have to worry about? At some point, we'll be married, and that won't be a consideration at all. She stared back at me like I'm a man in need of a brain. Nicholas, are you suggesting that I should just drop everything to follow you around the world? She quietly asked. Alarm bells began to go off, and I recognized the need to tread carefully. No, I wouldn't suggest that. It's just, why are we together if we aren't going to be together? That doesn't make much sense, does it? Bryony inhaled sharply, a range of emotions crossing her face. The confusion I felt only became more pronounced as I struggled to understand where we were failing to communicate. Okay, I said, holding up my hands. Let's just calm down. If you don't want to travel with me to New Zealand, you don't have to. I assumed that you would want to continue spending as much time together as possible. I shouldn't have assumed. I'm sorry. But what am I supposed to do without you for 4 months? Live off of Alfie's food? My poor attempt at a joke fell flat. I knew it as soon as it left my mouth, yet the conversation had me at sixes and sevens. What was I supposed to say? Bryony ran a hand over her face. You know what, Nick? I don't know what you're going to do for 4 months. All I know is that if this is going to work, if we're going to work, then you'll have to respect the work that I do. I don't exist just to cook your meals and escort you around the world. It felt like all of the oxygen evaporated from the balcony in that moment, and I closed my eyes as I tried to pull in a breath. That isn't fair, Bryony. You know that I value you more than that. Why else would I offer to invest in night? In fact, I'm tired, Nick. Let's just end it here. I'm going to bed. For the first time, I noticed the dark gray bags under her eyes, and the way her shoulders drooped as if under some great weight. I nodded. All right. Get some rest, my love. We can discuss it tomorrow. I have to be at the studio a little later tomorrow, so a light dinner should be fine. Bryony looked at me then, and I could have sworn I saw something shine in her eyes before she quickly turned towards the balcony doors. Goodbye, Nick. Good night, love. I wanted to reach out and wrap her in my arms as I had done so many times over the past 3 weeks. To hold her and tell her it would be okay, that we'd figure it out. Yet there was a prickliness about her, something that screamed, don't touch. Instead, I watched her traipse through the doors as I tried to figure out what exactly had happened. Alfie claps a hand to his forehead as Evie groans. So, what did you do after that? My sister asks. I look between the two of them in confusion. What do you mean? I didn't do anything. I went to bed. She seemed fine this morning. Maybe a bit quiet, if anything. I'm sure you can see there was nothing to indicate something so dramatic as leaving the country unannounced. While Evie and Alfie stare at me in disbelief, I shrug my shoulders. If either of you have something to say, now would be a good time. I should probably call again to see if she's willing to talk. Evie pokes me in the chest. How could you? You know how much her food truck business means to her. The irritation rises in my chest as I brush Evie's hand aside. Of course I know how much it means to her. If there's some misunderstanding about that, we'll clear it up. Why are you all being so dramatic? Alfie says something under his breath, then aloud. I'm canceling the wedding. I frown, the panic returning in a rush. What? No, I've just gotten used to the idea. Why would you? Alfie starts pushing buttons on his phone as he turns away. Sir, respectfully, you don't deserve her. My brows shoot to my hairline, something like panic setting in. How could you, of all people, say that? You know how I feel about her. Alfie whirls back on me, his face a cold mask. Did you know her fish vendor fell through on her yesterday? Or that she's been fighting with the mechanics over the billing since they want to be paid in cash when they said they accepted the credit at first? Or that she's been worried that she won't have the time to get the truck painted out because the mechanics don't want to deliver the truck unless she's there to receive it? My mouth opens and closes as a wave of dread washes over me. No, she didn't mention. Alfie's dark eyes flash as he growls. No, but she wouldn't, would she? Do you ever ask how her day was? Or how things are going? Or do you wait for her to mention something in passing? I stare dumbly at him. Surely I've at least once. But no, I know I haven't. We talk about nearly everything else. I collapse on the sofa as I try to sort it all out. I could get upset with her for not sharing these things with me, but the truth is, I'm upset with myself. I should know these things. I should be taking an interest in one of the most important things in her life. Instead, I've ignored it as much as I could. Why? Did you ever tell her that you love her? Evie asks, more than a little concern in her voice. I blink up at her, my stomach pitching wildly. Well, no, not yet. I wanted to. It should be under different circumstances. Oh, when will that be? Before your first child goes to kindergarten, I hope. Alfie huffs. What is happening today? I look between the two of them wildly. Are you all out of your minds? I'm the one struggling to figure out what's going on. Why does it feel as though there's one grand secret being kept from me? Evie sighs as she rubs her eyes. Alfie, give us a minute, please. Alfie looks back at me, shaking his head on his way upstairs. Evie sits beside me on the sofa, angling towards me. Why do you think Bryony left early, Nick? I scrub my hands over my face before slowly running them through my hair. I've been at the studio at 6 a.m. every day this week and want nothing more than to have something hot to eat and pass out. I don't know, Evie, I say tiredly. I guess that's something I should ask her when I see her on Saturday. Her eyes narrow on me. Ah, so you're going back on your original flight? I don't see why not. I still have work to wrap up. Nikki? Evie drops her chin as she pins me with her mother look. The one that says she'd rather just smack me in the head. I'm going to speak slowly, so keep up. Who is the most important person in your life? I frown. It's Bryony, of course. Evie nods. Right. But why? I pause. She's the person I spend the most time with in a day. She literally keeps me alive. Evie raises a brow. How about something a little less proximity related, or even job related for that matter? Sighing, I prop my chin on a fist. What do I say? She's brilliant, talented, gorgeous. She cares about people. She cares about me, and not just that I eat in a timely manner. She sees me, Nick the person, not Nicholas the actor. I'm a better person for being around her, and the idea of being separated from her physically pains me. Evie nods. Okay, so why haven't you told her that? My mind whirls as I blankly stare at her. My voice trails off as I come up empty. I don't know. Okay, let's come back to that. Bryony is the most important person in your life. If it were anyone other than Bryony, I would take issue with being bumped from the spot. However, I'm willing to concede to my best friend because she's awesome. Do you think you're awesome enough to bump me from her number one spot? My brows raise. That's a pretty high opinion of yourself, isn't it? After all, Win is her fleshly sister. Evie waves a hand as she shakes her head. Semantics. We're all top three for sure. The point is, where do you rank yourself in her eyes? Are you not giving your all because you're afraid? What would I have to be afraid of? I swallow. I know how we feel about each other at the moment. That's all that matters. She hikes a brow. At the moment, are your feelings transient? I glare at her. Not at all. I've never been more certain of my feelings. Evie nods. That's wonderful. Do you feel the same way about Bryony's feelings? Do you think she can easily change her mind about how she feels about you? Rubbing the back of my neck, I shrug, doing my best to ignore a cold lump that has settled in the pit of my stomach. Nick, do you think you're worth Bryony's time? I open my mouth to respond, but nothing comes out. Well, My mouth dries and the words stick in my throat. Evie nods. So what are you afraid of? That you're not good enough for her? That she'll ultimately reject you? No? The word comes out on a puff of air. There's no strength behind it as I realize Evie may be onto something. Evie tilts her head to the side, reminding me of Bryony. Is that why you haven't hyper-focused on her like you do with everything else you love? Have you been taking it slowly because you're afraid you'll lose her? Her question resonates somewhere deep within me, and I realize it's true. I'll surely be ruined if I lose Bryony now. Living without her would be difficult, but if I focus all of my energy on her and go all in, only to be rejected later, I don't think I would survive. I nod miserably as tears prickle at the back of my eyes. What if I'm not enough for her, Evie? What if I give her my all and she still decides she doesn't want this? Want me? Then that's her right as a human being. But what if you continue like this, holding yourself back from the full effort, and she still leaves? Wouldn't it hurt more, knowing that you could have done something to change the outcome? I choke on the spit that I sharply inhale, and after a fit of coughing, I stare back at Evie in amazement. This goes back to the idea of loving someone the way they want to be loved, doesn't it? Evie grasps my hand, giving it a gentle shake. If you don't love with everything, don't you think the other person will know it? Especially with someone who knows you as well as you say Bryony does. It's tempting to put the people we love on a pedestal and hope that they love us enough to stay there. However, that rarely works for people who want to live rather than be enjoyed. I frown in response. So you're saying by loving her in halves, I'm not only not getting the full experience, I'm also not giving her the full experience. Evie taps a finger to her chin as she thinks. It's the same as taking your most prized possession, setting it on a pedestal, shining a light on it, and visiting it every day but never dusting it or putting in the effort to clean it. The minimal effort may work for a while, but eventually the piece will dull. It may get caked with dust and grime. It won't shine the way it could, and it will no longer be appealing on the pedestal. My brows shoot up as she continues. Only Bryony is a person with feelings and emotions, desires and motivations that change, like you and me. As a good partner, how do you love completely if you merely show half an interest in them? If you don't have those conversations? I know how she feels about things, but what about her life, Nikki? What about the things that make her tick? You can observe forever, but until you're willing to steep yourself in the essence of who she is, you'll never be the partner she needs because you won't be able to show up in the ways that truly matter to her. You know what tea she likes? Wonderful. So does her barista at Starbucks. You mean more than they do, so you have to dig deeper than they do. Deeper than you've ever gone with another person. I look away in shame. It's something that I should know, and yet for the first time it's clear to me that in trying to preserve my own feelings, I've been neglectful of Bryony's. I feel sick as Evie continues. Look, Nikki, I know you can do it. You feel deeply, so I don't think your feelings are shallow. But I do think the very fear that's keeping you from going all in is the same fear that will ultimately sabotage your relationship. It's up to you what you do from here. She then stands and gives me a hug. I love you both, and you'll both be in my life no matter what happens. Evie pulls back to look me in the eye. But if you think for a minute I'm putting her out of the delivery room because you couldn't get yourself together, you better think again. I offer a tight smile as I hug her in return. We can't have that now, can we? She taps me on the shoulder. Which is why you'll figure it out. I believe Bryony's planning to pack up her cottage and put everything in storage until she can find a place to stay. Hopefully, you can talk her out of it. I abruptly stand. She had agreed to stay. Evie levels me with a stern look. Then give her a reason, Nikki. Resting a hand on my cheek, she smiles. Aren't you the one always quoting Byron? Friendship is love without its wings. It's about time that you fully take the leap and give your friendship some wings, darling. With that, she collects her things and sails out of the door with promises to keep in touch. I slowly trudge upstairs as I contemplate everything that happened in the past 24 hours. I have to fix this. I'm going to fix this. When I enter my navy and tan bedroom, it takes me a moment to notice the white card on my blue duvet. Recognizing Bryony's handwriting, I rip open the card and stare at the 2 sentences written there. I just need some time to figure out if this is going where we both needed to go. If not, some difficult but necessary changes need to be made. Bryony. I don't know how long I stand there holding the card. Does this mean she's breaking up with me? As the thought fills my mind, it lights a fire in me, and I spring into action. Storming into the hallway, I bang on Alfie's door. When it swings open, I waste no time. Reschedule me for whatever work remains to be done, but I need to be in New York tomorrow. We'll need a jet, Alf. Alfie looks back at me in surprise at first. Then, as a slow smile spreads across his face, I turn to walk away. I'm getting Tiffany place settings for your wedding present, he calls out gleefully. Make sure it's for 12, I shout, jogging to my room to pack. I toss a few things in a satchel, knowing Alf will get everything else sorted, but my mind is on my wife. If wings are what Brian is after, then that's what she's going to get. In spades. End of chapter.